Owen and his wife Jane live quietly in a small countryside house. One morning, like always, Jane finishes breakfast and steps outside to enjoy some fresh air. But as she gazes up, she spots meteors tearing through the sky. One of them crashes violently to the ground nearby, triggering deafening explosions. Owen also hears the blast and rushes outside in panic. Jane cautiously approaches the impact site, only to find the land scorched, trees shattered, and birds lying dead all around. She suddenly starts feeling dizzy and blood begins pouring from her nose. Owen runs to her side and lifts her in his arms, carrying her back into the house. But once inside, Jane starts pushing Owen away aggressively. Her eyes become vacant, her movements twitchy, as if she's turning into a zombie. Meanwhile, far away in London, people move through their routines, unaware of the terror beginning to spread. Inside a local cafe, a young waitress named Susan finishes serving customers and takes a quick break. Suddenly, without warning, meteors streak down into the city, exploding on impact and throwing everything into chaos. The group rushes toward the back of the cafe, looking for safety while a man near the window stays frozen in place, watching the terrifying scene outside. Moments later, a woman stumbles inside the cafe. Her face is pitch black, her mouth dripping blood. Susan rushes over, offering water, but the woman stays eerily silent. Outside, the chaos continues, but inside, the group is frozen in fear. The cafe owner quickly switches on the TV. A breaking news broadcast announces that no major city is safe. Survivors are urged to stay indoors or find shelter immediately since the situation is out of control. Just then, the woman who stumbled into the cafe starts convulsing. The group tries to help her, but Jim spots another figure outside the cafe. A woman who has fully transformed into a zombie. He asks the owner for the keys and locks the cafe doors, despite protests from some friends who believe the woman might still need help. Suddenly, the woman inside the cafe turns fully into a zombie and lunges at them. One man fights her off, but during the struggle, she bites his hand. Out of pain, he slams her head against the wall and kills her. Outside, the city descends further into chaos as the government tries and fails to contain the outbreak. Inside the cafe, the group barricades the doors with furniture, but the undead keep clawing and pounding, trying to break in. The bitten man starts to show symptoms, blood trickling from his nose and mouth. But before he fully turns, the cafe owner grabs a frying pan and knocks him unconscious. The group wastes no time and flees through the back door. Out on the streets, Susan remembers her car parked nearby and tells the group they can escape in it. They make their way to the parking lot, but spot a group of zombies already there. The group inches toward the car quietly, but just as they get in, a zombie approaches the vehicle. Susan quickly turns off the engine, hoping the zombies won't notice them, but the creature presses against the window, trying to get inside. The group urges Susan to drive, so she restarts the car and speeds away toward Heatherfield, the hometown of both Susan and Jim. But their escape doesn't last long, as the car hits something and a tire bursts. With no spare, they're forced to continue on foot. After a long walk, the group finds themselves surrounded by the zombies. They make a run for it and take shelter in a nearby building. Jim blocks the entrance with a stick to slow the attackers. The group scrambles up the stairs, but before they can breathe, a meteor crashes into the building, shaking its entire structure. Still, they press upward, but Jim and Susan fall behind. A zombie grabs Susan's leg through a hole in the floor, but Jim acts fast and saves her. With more zombies closing in, they both duck into a nearby room, only to find another zombie inside holding a hammer. Jim snatches the hammer and hands it to Susan. They then quietly sneak out, reuniting with the group on the upper floor. Relief washes over everyone as they see Jim and Susan alive, but the threat isn't over. The zombies have followed them and are now slamming against the door. With no other way out, the group begins escaping through the window one by one. Now on the rooftop, they look around and find the entire city is in ruins. Jim suggests going back down to find a way out, but the others hesitate, terrified of facing the streets again. He reminds them they can't survive long up here without food or water. Then, one of them notices another building nearby with an open window. They begin climbing across, but Susan warns that zombies are still roaming outside. Jim decides they'll stay the night here and make their move at first light. The next morning, one of the survivors quietly steps outside to check if the area is safe. But before he can even react, a zombie lunges out of nowhere and bites his hand. His scream pierces the silence, jolting everyone awake. The group rushes to help, but by the time they reach him, the creature has already sunk its teeth deep into his flesh. Jim grabs a metal rod nearby and slams it through the doorway, killing the zombie before it can get inside. With their friend wounded, the group decides to move out quickly. But when they reach the stairwell, they're met with a swarm of zombies blocking the way. Realizing it's too dangerous to go down, they retreat to the rooftop. Up there, Jim searches frantically and finds another stairway that might lead out. The group begins their escape down the narrow stairs, but the injured man starts struggling to breathe. Jim, staying at the back to keep watch, goes to help him, only to realize it's already too late. His friend has turned and lunges at Jim. Susan rushes in and slams a hammer into the zombie's head, ending his life instantly. With no time to process the loss, the group keeps moving, hoping to find a safe place to hide. Eventually, they spot a hospital in the distance and rush inside, taking the elevator to the upper floors. At first, everything seems quiet, but out of nowhere, a zombie suddenly ambushes them from the side, biting one survivor's fingers. Jim reacts instantly, dragging the attacker away, while Susan finishes it off with another blow to the head. With their injured friend in pain, Susan and Jim decide to scout ahead alone, leaving the rest of the group in a room to rest. They climb to the top floor but are devastated to find the entire level destroyed. Meanwhile, downstairs, the bitten survivor, along with his girlfriend Kate, tries to move toward the upper floor, but he collapses midway, and the noise attracts nearby zombies. The two quickly hide under a bed, barely escaping detection. At the same time, Jim and Susan find a doctor upstairs. They beg him for help, saying their friend needs medical attention, but the doctor refuses, saying he can't risk going downstairs because the building is crawling with zombies. Back on the lower floor, Kate's boyfriend's condition worsens. He tells Kate to leave him behind, but she refuses, so he forcefully pushes her out of the room and locks the door just as he turns into a zombie. Jim and Susan arrive moments later and find Kate. They pull her away, and the group continues their journey. Believing the urban area is no longer safe, they head toward the forest, hoping the woods offer better shelter. As they run through the forest, Kate stumbles and falls behind. Jim and Susan race ahead, but her scream stops them. A zombie has attacked her. They rush back, and Jim kills the attacker, but it's too late. Kate has already turned. Consumed by grief, Jim and Susan have no choice but to leave her and continue their escape. Eventually, they reach Susan's family home, where they find only her younger sister, Nicole. Susan anxiously asks about their parents, but Nicole replies that everyone else has turned and she's the only one left. Together, they get in the car and drive to Jim's house, where they're reunited with Jim's brother, Owen, the same man from the beginning of the movie. Overjoyed to see Jim alive, Owen welcomes them inside. Jim asks about Owen's wife, Jane, but Owen avoids the question. That night, Susan heads to the bathroom but hears a noise from another room. Investigating quietly, she finds Jane, tied up and hidden away. At that moment, Owen appears and casually tells her it's time for dinner, then walks away. During the meal, Susan confronts Owen. Owen explains that Jane hasn't hurt anyone, so he didn't see the need to kill her. The group seems uneasy but doesn't argue. The next morning, Owen goes to check on Jane, only to discover she's broken free. She lunges at him and bites his hand. At the same time, Jim notices the zombies are beginning to surround the house and wakes everyone up in a panic. But before they can react, Jane breaks loose and attacks the group. They manage to subdue her, and Owen, filled with sorrow, takes the shotgun and shoots Jane himself. He then urges the others to escape through the back, but Jim refuses to leave his brother. Owen reveals he's already infected and there's no saving him. He insists they go, but the group hesitates, so Owen runs out alone, drawing the zombies away. As the creatures chase him, he fights them off, killing several, but eventually he runs out of ammunition. The others spot an opening at the front and take the chance to escape, while Owen is overwhelmed and dragged down by the zombies. Eventually, Jim, Susan, and Nicole reach an abandoned church and take shelter. They lock the doors and try to rest. But soon after, they hear the groaning and banging as the creatures attempt to break in. Jim tells Susan and Nicole to climb to the tower while he holds the entrance. He fights them off as long as he can, but the sheer number of zombies overwhelms him. Just as they break through, he sprints up to the tower, where the others pull him inside and lock the door behind him. Nicole tries to use a radio to call for help, but there's only silence. As they look down, they see more zombies pouring into the church and there's no exit left. The three of them sit in silence, surrounded and out of options, trapped with no clear way forward.